Welcome to the Sustainable Pathways 2 tutorial. This tutorial will introduce you to the economic modelling component of the EYES or Integrated Scenarios Explorer tool. This tutorial will enable you, the EYES user, to change the economic assumptions that are contained in the base economic model. This will enable you to explore what-if questions about the economy, the trajectory of economic development and component industries within the model. You can explore the effects of changes in the economy on land use. When you open up the EYES software, the economic module is contained within the main window. If we click on it, under Parameters, we see the Economics module here. Details of how the economic model was constructed and its base assumptions are contained in the EYES technical report, which was written to accompany the EYES model, and which is intended to give in-depth insight as to how the models interact and what assumptions are contained within them. In summary, the EYES contains a region dynamic economy environment model, which contains households, workers, exports, both international and to other regions within New Zealand, capital, and changes in inventory. The economic module within EYES is based on an input-output framework. It is primarily demand-driven and subject to sufficient agricultural land availability. The model assumes that final demand is met in the long run. Internal data within the economic model include both the Leontief and Gauche input-output matrix coefficients. The model also contains age cohort consumption coefficients. When you open your EYES software and region-specific settings, you will see that the model contains a default or baseline business-as-usual dataset. For this baseline, we have forecast final demand in future years based on historical trends and population projections. Changes in final demand are applied to the Leontief matrix, which gives future requirement to produce the output. Additional gross output required is translated into a land requirement based on a land productivity index, which is derived within the model. Thus, we have created a process in which the economy and land use models interact, and we can use it to see how the economy affects land use change over time. The economic model contains 48 industries with economic interdependencies between all those industries. We are going to use an economic development strategy developed by Council to show how to change the economic module in EYES. So the economic model is based on historical trends, has been updated using ANZIC 06 definitions for 2007 and 2014, and has updated population projections based on February 2015 subnational projections. The EYES economic module has a trajectory going out into the future, and we are going to change those futures and model an alternative to the pathway that is contained in the baseline or business as usual economic module. Returning to the EYES software, under the drivers and in the main menu, you go to Parameters, click on the economic model, and here you can see the sector names. These are the 48 different sectors. And the other two tabs I'm going to point out here that we will be using, this is the Demand tab, and this has the inverse Leontief matrix here, again by 48 industries. And the Supply tab, here you can see the Gauche matrix, again by 48 industries, 48 by 48 matrix. So what we are going to do is to analyse the economic changes based on a policy scenario. We're going to create a scenario, and it's based on a policy question that we have. What we are going to do is look at Auckland Council's growth goals. And what's important to consider is that a lot of work has been undertaken at a policy level within Auckland Council to come up with these growth goals. Some of the scenarios or the descriptions were to move Auckland up 20 places in the OECD rankings. These are the types of policy questions that may be answered. Move Auckland into the top 10 cities in the Southern Hemisphere by 2031. Move Auckland into the top 3 cities in Australasia by 2031. So again, what does this mean? What does this mean for GDP? What does this mean for different industries? And a considerable amount of policy work has gone into this within Auckland and within the Government of New Zealand to look at what industries would have to change, how exports would have to change to achieve these growth goals. And again, in terms of overall growth rates in exports or growth rate in productivity or in consumption, some of these scenarios are highly unlikely because the growth rates are so high. Again, just to reiterate that I'm going to show you how to input the data that has been undertaken in a lengthy process to find out what these growth rates would be, and also to find out what could be achievable, what are quite ambitious, and also what are unlikely. So what we are going to do in the tutorial today is to use the Auckland Council Economic Futures Model to generate impacts by economic sector. And we're going to set some constraints for the workforce, for consumption, for population, for balance of trade, and for interregional exports from Auckland. This is the Auckland Council's bold growth goal. And here you can see the changes in GDP over time out to 2031. And this is the government's economic growth agenda. Again, it's not as high as the Auckland Council's bold growth goal. And this is what it means in figures. So we're going to change this again. This is just to reiterate the point that there was considerable amount of work that was put in to identify these key sectors that could potentially grow. Business services, metal and metal products, electronics, machinery, food, marine, health, tourism, technical services, transport services, and paper products. And we've got a low, medium and high GDP range in billions of dollars. And the government's economic growth agenda wasn't quite as high for some of the sectors. Yes, it was for business service sectors. But what we can do is we can put these figures into the economic module of the eyes and see how that translates into land use change over time. I'm going to take you through the steps of creating a scenario for business as usual and for the Auckland Council bold growth goal. So to do this, we'll have to update the eyes economic module user interface with gross fixed capital formation growth rates, export growth rates, and again, all this, the calculations have been done by policymakers within the Council. So we're just really transferring that data into the eyes model and to see how that translates into land use change. We can run the eyes for scenario and we can log the maps. And then we can run the map comparison kit to determine the differences between the land use scenarios. In order to make changes to the economic module to suit the economic development strategy goals, you could open up within the main window, you could open up your economy model here and you could choose whatever industry if you want to change, say business services. You could adjust the rates of growth here accordingly if you know what the growth rate is going to be. And that's one way of adjusting the model. You could do this for all the different sectors. That's for international exports. You could do that for interregional exports. You could do it for gross fixed capital formation within each sector. But I'm going to show you a more rigorous way. And to do that, we'll open up an Excel file and we'll input all the sectors. And what we're going to do is extract data from the economic module of the eyes. And this leads to a more rigorous and transparent process of modelling the data in Excel, and that will enable you to document the changes you've made and giving you more transparency in your policy analysis. Looking at the process that we're going to go through to change the economic development strategy, it's just presented here. The eyes economic model contains a default baseline which we have forecast in final demand, as I've said earlier. So what we're going to do is extract that baseline from eyes. Then we are going to establish the major industry trends and prospects, and that has come from the Auckland Council's policy work in economic development already. And then we established the baseline results in key sectors. Again, that's based on the work that has been done. So what we're going to do then is we're going to develop the scenario, and we're going to model those results, put them back into eyes, and run eyes with the modified or the alternative scenario. To get started extracting data from eyes, open up a spreadsheet in Excel, and we're going to establish the baseline. So copy and paste the 48 sectors and just put them in a column B here. And now what we're going to do is go into eyes and get this data out for 2007. So open up eyes in your economics model. I'll just make this bigger. If you go into the demand tab, just reset this to 2007. We want it for 2007 data. Just wait until this resets. And I'm going to just copy and paste these international exports, interregional exports, gross fixed capital formation, and changes in inventory. So I can copy them all at the same time. So just click on them, Control and copy, back into Excel, and paste. Just make sure that they're copied across. Yes. The next thing I'm going to do is find in the indicators tab, which is this within the economic model, and I want to find the current growth, this output here, current growth, current value added for 2007. So all of these, I'm going to get these energy indicators output as well. So just copy them all and paste. Okay, that's all pasted in. The second step is I'm going to extract the Auckland base data from eyes for 2016. So this is what, when you initially get eyes, there is a model inbuilt, and this is the baseline model or business as usual model. So first of all, we can go to the demand, back to the demand tab input for 2000 demand tab, and change this to 2016. And again, we take the international exports, interregional exports, gross fixed capital formation, and changes in inventory from here. Copy it and paste it. Okay. Now the next step is for 2016 we want to get the output for 2016. So to find that data, because these change year by year, so we need to run the model. So to do that, I'm going to go to Options. I can either write to Excel if I want, but I'm just going to actually do it. I'm going to run it step by step. So reset it to 2007, which it is, which I have done already. But just always reset it before you run it, just out of good practice. Just wait till this returns to 100%. There we go. And I can either run it step by step, which runs it year by year, and I just do it one at a time. I'm going to run it run it out, and I'm going to stop it at 2015. Once it reaches 2015, because it will automatically just run out the next year. So you saw that step change there. I'm just going to stop recording because it's just a few minutes to wait. But just to note that when it reaches 2015, I'm going to press stop, and it will carry on over onto 2016, which is what I want. So it has reached 2015. I'm just going to stop because it will carry on calculating through to the next year there. So it stops, even though you press stop it at 2015, it will stop at 2016. So what we want from here is in the indicators, and I want the output here. I want to copy all of these for the 48 industries. So Control and C, copy, and just pop them in here. Okay, the next step, I have it in my data set already. I presume that you have knowledge of the economic futures model. And we need to, because EYES is a regional model, it doesn't have the data for New Zealand in total, which we will need to calculate SLQs or location quotients. So I've just I have inputted these already. And this is for New Zealand, international exports 2007, gross fixed capital formation. So this is for the country in total by industry. So the next step is to establish the economic development database for 2016. And we actually have extracted this data already. This is international exports for 2007. If we just come here, international exports, yeah, so that's for Auckland, so it's in column V, so I'll just copy that down and fill that column. So international imports for 2007 for Auckland. And that is this one. I've just started in the middle there, so I'll just drag that up to fill out that column. The next thing to find is gross fixed capital formation, which we have extracted as well. Here it is here, gross fixed capital formation. Just copy that across. And then we want value added for 2007. Find this in our data. Value added, current value added 2007, which is AC10. And employment for 2016. So we have extracted that as well. Check, yes, indicators tab output for 2016, AE10. Enter and just copy these down. Okay. So the next thing that we need to calculate from our figures is the SLQ, or the simple location quotient. And an industry location quotient is a way of quantifying how concentrated an industry is in a region compared to the rest of the country. Here we're comparing Auckland with New Zealand, which is why we extracted the New Zealand data from the economic futures model. So now we need to calculate the SLQ for employment. and also for value added. So assuming that you've got a knowledge of what an SLQ is, the formula is that it's employment in one industry in a region divided by the employment for that industry for the whole country, and that's all divided by the total number of people in all industries in the region divided by the total number of those employed in all industries in the whole country to get the relative size of that industry in the whole country. So I'll just put the formula for the SLQ in here. Again, it's for horticulture, it's the number employed in horticulture in the Auckland region divided by the number employed in horticulture in New Zealand. That's all divided by the sum of all employees in the Auckland region divided by the sum of all employees in New Zealand, all industries. So we'll just copy that down. Then we'll calculate the location quotient for value added. I'll just give you the formula here that you can put in. And again, that's the industry's value added. It's a proportional share in the national value added for that industry divided by the region's total value added divided by the country's total value added. And again, industries with high SLQs are typically, but not always, export-oriented industries. And they're important because they bring money into the region rather than just simply circulating money that is already within the region. And again, this was the policy work that has been undertaken by policy analysts within Auckland Council to find out the significant industries for the Auckland region. Just tidy that up a little bit. Okay. The next thing to calculate is the share of Auckland's exports out of New Zealand's and also Auckland's imports out of a total of New Zealand's. So I'll just give you the formula there, which is just Auckland's exports divided by New Zealand's exports per industry. And also we'll work out the same for the imports. You can just go back and look at your data, just verify that they're correct. We also work out the share of Auckland's gross fixed capital formation from that of New Zealand's. It's AVAP. AV here is gross fixed capital formation for Auckland, and here this is one for New Zealand from the EFM. Okay, so I'll just copy that down. The next thing that we're going to calculate, and the last thing in this step, is to calculate the compound annual growth rate for both value added and employment. Again, this is between the 2 years 2007 and 2016, just the average growth rate in that period. I'll just give the formula here. So this is very much the economic policy analysts. This is the work that they've done in terms of trying to identify the industries and sectors that are growing and that are significant within the region. Once you have these formulas, you can go back and check, verify that they're correct. Just turn these into a percentage. Oops. To give a little bit of context of what we're doing in the whole process, we're identifying the key sectors, and that's from the parameter datasets for the 48 industries from 2000 to 2010, and we extracted data for the Auckland region from EYES and for the rest of New Zealand from the Economic Futures model. So this process that we're doing at the moment is calculating and comparing the parameters, and we're going to rank order them, the industries. And we've got some static parameters and some dynamic growth parameters, and we're using a filter process to find out which are the most important industries or the industries of significance. And again, this is based on employment and based on the number of units, the size and concentration of the industries through location quotient, the concentration, and then looking at the growth patterns or the growth trends, the expected growth trends. Going through this process, these were the 11 industries that were selected by Auckland Council policy people. And these were business services, electronics and electrical, going down through them, health, tourism, food, paper products. So we have these industry indicators showing how each industry or sector fares within the regional economy and also within the national economy through these SLQs and through these indicators that we've developed. I'll just pass this is just a ranking process of ranking which industries have the highest SLQ for employment. Here you can see the formula, you can input this in yourself. This was the ranking for SLQ for value added. This is just the formula for ranking for share of New Zealand exports. The employment rank here, you can copy and paste these into your worksheet. You can pause the video and just copy and paste them in. And then for the overall rank, this is just the sum of each of these. And here we have the sectors of interest that were identified. And again, this is all the policy work that was done by Council, and it's outside of the EYES model. So most of the work for this tutorial was done. We're just taking that data and we're putting it into EYES. And as you can appreciate, there is a lot of work that goes into creating these scenarios for these industries, identifying these industries of interest. These are the key sectors that have been selected for further analysis. These are identified as the potential growth sectors. These are the sectors that they have existing growth rates within the EYES model and within the EFM at the moment. And what we're going to do is to reach the growth goals of the Auckland Council, we're going to change the growth rates within these sectors and see what effects that has on the land use change within the Auckland region. Going back to our Excel spreadsheet, we're entering stage 2, which is the scenario development. We have our 11 sectors of interest which have been filtered through the process, and again these are sectors, they contain some of these industries. So here in step 7 you can see the compound annual growth rates from 2007 to 2031 to achieve the bold growth goal of the Auckland Council Economic Development Strategy. Now these figures of over 5% for a lot of them growth are very high. Again, it is a bold growth strategy. And what we are going to do is the sectors, the industries within the sectors of interest have been highlighted in yellow. And we're going to change these sectors within the EYES model. So these are exogenous to the EYES model. These were calculated through an external process as part of the economic growth goal strategy by the Auckland Council. A compound annual growth rate shows a constant rate of return over a period of time. So what we do is we're starting off with the initial amount of output that's produced within each industry for international exports, interregional exports, gross fixed capital formation, starting off in 2007. And we're multiplying it by the compound annual growth rate. So we can just trace here, trace the precedence. We can see where it's coming from. So we start off with the figure of CA10, which is the international exports in that industry, and we're multiplying it by the compound annual growth rate for that industry. So this is a growth rate that would have to be applied to reach the bold growth goal. And we do this for all of the industries, for exports, interregional exports, gross fixed capital formation. So I'll just pass the my cursor over here, and here you can see what the formula is for the compound annual growth rate. This is the number of years that within that period between 2007 and 2011. And we do this for between 2011 and 2016 for all industries, and we extend our analysis out to 2021. We can go out to 2031 or 2051, but for the sake of this tutorial, we'll just do it to that year. The next step is to update eyes with our new figures with the new growth rates. So here I've just organised the data. This is for international exports, 2007, rubber, plastic and other chemical product manufacturing. I've selected 5 of the industries just for illustrative purposes. So these are the new growth rates by applying the higher compound annual growth rate to it. So this is what international exports would have to be in 2007, increasing to this in 2011, 2016, 2021, and similarly for these other industries. So what we have to do is go back and open up the eyes model. I'll just drag the model across from here. You go into the main window, into the economics model again. Under the external factors here, you can see that we've got the different years. We click on, you can see the different years down here that we're going to change. This is for accommodation, restaurant and bars. I'm just going to show you how you change it. So the first industry that we're going to change is rubber, plastic and other chemical product manufacturing. So you need to scroll down here and find it. There we go. And this is international exports, which is here. So for 2007 it should be the same because it's a base year. For 2011, in the original eyes model, we've got a value of 365. We need to change that to 508. So I'll just change that. So for 2011 it should be 508. So manually change it. Okay. For 2016, double click on it. Change it to 773. Okay. 2021. Okay. Now for 2000 and for the other figures, I'm just going to increase them up to that level as well, if I can. I probably will only run the model to that year. I'll click on here. Just change this to make it constant. So this is how you change the model. I'll just change 2051. I'll leave it at 1176, although the growth goal would probably demand it to be higher than that. Then you click OK. So also go to We need to change this for all these industries. I'll do another one, I'll start off another one, but you just go through here, you find machinery and equipment manufacturing. Again, you click on the growth rates. It starts off at 717. By 2011 it goes up to 1089. Okay. By 2016 it's 1835. Just change it here. Okay. And by 2021 the growth goes up to 3092. So manually change it in here. I can just drag these up to a constant rate. Again, find air transport and change these in a similar way, inputting these figures starting off with 2007. I can either change it up here if I can find 1143. 1155, so you can see it's kind of tricky to change. It should be 2011. This is how you change the model. So it's 1143 it should be. 2016 is 1908. And 2021 it goes up to 3185. Again, which is significantly higher than the original in the model. Okay. Then in your Excel, if you go over here, we also need to change the interregional exports and the gross fixed capital formation. Once you have loaded all the new values into eyes, you load the sub-scenario. Sorry, we save it as a sub-scenario. Just cancel that. Save this as a sub-scenario. Save it as a new sub-scenario, and we'll call it Bold Economic Development Strategy. Okay. And then we can run the model from here, and we can see what the effects are on land use. So just going through the process again, we always reset the model. It'll take a couple of minutes to do so. Just waiting for it to reload. That's ready to go. And then we run the model. So I just paused the video there, and I've also just paused running the model. But again, so you can see here that this is the Bold Economic Development Strategy that's running. We can change that back to the baseline and run it. And again, you can check out how to get output from the running the model in the other tutorials, but I hope this tutorial has given you an appreciation of the functioning of the economic module within eyes and how you change it.